let's review. Where are we holding? We have a two levels of the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, Kamus and Eichus, and when the Birkas Shmueil says that kol rega v'rega is a kol rega v'rega is a mitzvah of Talmud Torah. That's Eichus. That is to say, Eichus. That to say one word of Torah is a mitzvah shlema of learning Torah. So that's an Eichus. That it has that quality of Talmud Torah keneged kulam, and a person could, in their, reach that level of full concentration and awareness and excitement of learning on one word of Torah.
Kol rega v'rega.
And every minute of that learning is another huge mitzvah keneged kulam. Every single minute. That's what the Gross says. And kol rega v'rega is a chiyuv shlema of Talmud Torah keneged kulam. Now, there's also a kamus.
A what?
A kamus, not eichos, a kamus of Yom V'Layla. Learn Torah all day long. And so the Birkas Shmueil explained. So what happens if something comes to your hand that you must do, and it's time to shut your Gemara, and you don't go like that, clock, and shut the Gemara. You have to shut it. So you have to leave. You have to do what you have to do. So now, what happened to Shinantam, learning all day and all night? So you're not going to be able to do it. But that one's also not a dechia.
Not a dechia?
No, because it's just not shaykh to have the mitzvah of kol rega v'rega anymore, because you have to stop. And it's not shaykh to have the kamus dovek of that learning for an extended time of all day and night, because you have to stop. So you have to understand the Kash and Teirutz, I think, is on this point, that the Birkas Shmueil said, if I compare kol rega v'rega of Talmud Torah, which the Gross said in the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, is kol rega v'rega, there's no minimum shiur. Every word is another mitzvah of learning Torah. And that's why a person can say after 1 minute or one rega, one word, now I got to go to work, because it's not Bidul Torah. He was finished and completed his chiyuv of Talmud Torah with that one word. There's no minimum shiur, and then I don't need to say a dechiyah. So the whole.
You say pater.
I say he's potter. He's potter. He's potter. And the kasha from Tzitzis was that, well, wait a minute. Abaye said about Tzitzis that Rav Yosef wanted to say there's not as man kavua. Not as man kavua means it's not like Mila, that is man kavua on the 8th day, and therefore if the 8th day comes on Shabbos, the mitzvah is Darchei Shabbos, and even the Machshirim are Darchei Shabbos. But Tzitzis, the Machshirim, that was the question in the Gemara, is the Machshirim Darchei Shabbos? Mm-hmm. So Rav Yosef said, no. It's first of all, there's a brayso that says tying tzitzis on Shabbos is a malacha, is chayev. Mm-hmm. For Melechas Shabbos. Mm-hmm. So Rav Yosef said, well, that's why, because since it doesn't have a zman kavua, therefore it's chayiv, and the Machshirim are not Darchei Shabbos. So Baya said to him, Machshirim means a heksha mitzvah. Warming water in order to do a bris milah is a heksha mitzvah. The mitzvah is to do a milah. But a heksher or a preparatory mitzvah, it's called a heksher mitzvah.
Okay.
So the mitzvah of tzitzis is not
Push off.
tying them, it's wearing them. But you can't wear them if you didn't tie the strings on your beged. So does the preparation doiche Shabbos? That's the Gemara's question. The answer is no. Rav Yosef gave a reason. I'll tell you why. Because in order to have the mitzvah or even the preparation of the mitzvah doiche Shabbos has to be that it has a zman kavua on Shabbos. Then it's doiche Shabbos. Since this is not a zman kavua. So Abaya said, I don't accept that svara. Because Abaya.
And therefore.
What did Abaya say?
Torah,
just talk about tzitzis. We have a Gemara about tzitzis, kasha and teirus. What did Abaya say about tzitzis? Abaya said, that's not true. Every single moment that you wear tzitzis, that's the zman of wearing tzitzis. So Shabbos at 6 in the morning, and Shabbos at 8 in the morning, and Shabbos any time of day on Shabbos, there's a mitzvah to wear tzitzis at that moment. And you can't get out of it. I can say, well, I'll do it on Sunday. No. You have a mitzvah to wear tzitzis right now, so you better tie them. Every minute and minute is another mitzvah by itself to wear tzitzis. That's a bayah. So now I'm ready for a comparison to Talmud Torah. What happens if this is a kasha to the Grua. The Grua said that every single moment, every word of Torah is another whole mitzvah by itself. And therefore he concluded, Elem shiur, every single word, because there's no minimum measure of how many words add up to a mitzvah of Torah, to have a shiur, a measurement. Says there's no bottom measurement at all, because one single word is already a mitzvah of learning Torah. So therefore the Grua said that in terms of Bidul Torah, I don't need to say this for Avdechia because you're Yotzi already, your mitzvah of Talmud Torah with one word, and then when you have a mitzvah you must do in your umnus, you go out and do it, and it's not a Dechia. Now, but if I say like a bias for that every minute is a mitzvah, then you only took care of the first minute. What about the second minute? The second minute already you can't go to work because you have a new mitzvah to learn Torah. So you're going to be back into the hole, and you're going to have to say Dechia. Yeah. That's the kasha on the Grua from tzitzis. So the teretz is that the kol rega v'rega of tzitzis, the kol rega v'rega in the Mishnah of Peah of Talmud Torah are not the same. What's the difference? Kamas dove, kamas nifa. That's what we said yesterday.
Quality, quantity.
No, within quantity, there's two types of quantity. The types of quantity are where every single piece is a isolated single unit, and when you wear tzitzis all day long, you have 68,532 mitzvahs of tzitzis. But each mitzvah is like another grain of sand. You have a whole pile of little isolated, unique items called a mitzvah of tzitzis.
Yeah.
That's called a kamos nifrad. But a kamos dove is also kamos, but it's where you fill up the glass with water and you reach the measurements of water called a whole day of learning Torah. So it's not, the mitzvah it stretches and includes the whole day. It's not that it's a accumulation of little tiny bits. It's a measurement which is a measurement of things that are one single unit, just it gets bigger or littler depending on how much time you devote to learning Torah. So that's called the kamos dove. So that's what he answered, that the two are not the same. If the two are not the same, how does that solve my problem? Because then I'll say that just like the qualitative kol rega v'rega of learning without any minimum shear, you're yotzi the chiyuv of Talmud Torah, of shachbacha, of kumecha. There's two psukim now. There's two dinim. There's two dinim. One din goes on together with the other. There's two dinim at the same time. Everybody is constantly involved in two dinim. One din is that the qualitative, where's your head and what are you doing, that if you put your whole being into your learning, you learn one word of Torah, you're yotzi yochiv of Talmud Torah. Now, let's suppose,
So once they've broken up it into these two different units.
You can't say that.
No, hold on.
Why not? Let him finish before you ask.
Once Abaye,
Yeah.
or whoever Abaye's answer would say, no, these two things are different. You're talking about the different types of quantity.
Good, fine.
Now, once he establishes that, because each of the Torah has to fit into both of those somehow.
No, you didn't quite get the setup.
Hold on, but you have to find two pasukim as well?
No, you didn't quite get the setup. The setup is not that the two laws of Talmud Torah are two different types of quantity. That's not the story. One is quality and one is quantity. Now that I have two psukim.
So
that's the Birkas Shmueil, not Abaye.
Okay, so he puts two pasukim
on
one
is
quality
on,
and one on quantity.
Yeah, and the one of quantity is not like tzitzis.
It's not like tzitzis. So
right? It's a different type of quality.
So the distinction is made on tzitzis to get out of the gross problem.
To help the gross.
To say that
the gross problem, so to speak, is really the Birkas Shmuel's problem with the gross. Is the Birkas Shmuel says that I didn't, since every minute, like Abaye said about tzitzis, is another mitzvah, then I didn't get out of the problem that Bidul Torah needs a dechia. That's the kasha.
You have to explain that a little bit more.
Okay.
Just a little bit more. Dechia means pushing off. That's
well, I'll put it this way, Yossi. The Rosh said
there's two things happening, right? All the time you have to learn, right?
I have to focus on.
And
you want me to be in the problem or in the teirus? When you said what's not clear, I have to get you to focus.
Still in the kasha.
In the kasha. So don't tell me the teirus, tell me the kasha. Okay. What is the kasha? The kasha is that tzitzis and Talmud Torah is like a big pile of sand, of little individual pieces, very small pieces that accumulate into a very large amount. They're both the same. Now, therefore, what good is it to tell me that with that first little piece of no minimum shear, one little grain of Torah in the morning, you're yotzi yochiv of Talmud Torah, and therefore there's no Bidul Torah to go out and do your umnus. The kasha, you're in the kasha now.
Yeah.
The kasha is, well, that's not true. That's not true. Because suppose you finish the first grain of sand, but there's a new grain of sand now. Yeah. You have to keep on learning another minute and another minute and another minute. So how do you ever go out to do your umnus?
No, that I did understand the kasha.
Okay, good. So then what? And then ask your question again. Anywhere you want to be, ask your question.
All right. So we're talking about the difference between a dechia and a pater. That's the difference between the two concepts. I think of learning all having to learn all the time, and having to learn qualitatively each individual moment. Are we dealing with what are the two concepts? You're always talking about concepts.
Yeah.
There's two concepts. One is you need to learn Yom V'Layla, but all the day and all the night, all the time.
Yeah. He says there's two dinim. Aleph,
right,
Yom V'Layla, and Beis, when you wake up and when you lie down, morning and night. Those are two concepts.
The first one
but besides concepts, you'll see I have another little project, which is called Relation of Concepts. I want to know, are those two halakim of Talmud Torah. You have to do A, and you have to do B. You want to make a cake. Halakim is like ingredients. To make a cake, you throw in the flour, you throw in the oil, you throw in the eggs. Now, if you leave out one, your cake is going to flop, right? So these two parts called Talmud Torah of Shinantim of Yom HaValayla, Talmud Torah of morning and night, are obviously not two parts. Because it's not that I have to have this one, plus I have to have this one, and when I have the two parts together, I have the mitzvah of learning Torah. He didn't say that. He said they're two dinim. Dinim are not parts. Dinim is a buzzword for mischaber. So there are two things that are connected to Talmud Torah. Now, that's why I go like this. I put one hand over the other, and I say, you see this? Watch my hands. I have these two things. They're both there. They're always there. One is not without the other. They're not the same thing, but they're both two mischabrim or dinim that are always there. Mischaber means an attached item, attached to a nosei. The nosei is mitzvahs Talmud Torah, and we say mitzvahs Talmud Torah has two dinim. It doesn't mean for Ruvain, the mitzvah of Talmud Torah is to learn day and night. And for Shimon, the mitzvah of Torah is to learn one word before he runs off to work. That's not true. Every single Jew is commanded to learn Torah.
All the time.
I didn't say all the time.
I'm saying.
I said, I didn't say that. You said that.
There's two.
What?
But isn't that true? Every Jew is found to learn.
I'm not sure it's true.
And they also command to learn in the morning.
I'll tell you my problem. If I say that every Jew is commanded to learn all the time, all day long, if I make that statement, you just made that statement.
Yeah,
no, I'm not going to do that.
Well,
I'm not going to. I'll tell you why I have a kash on you.
That's why you're doing.
I have a kash on you. It means to say
understand.
that anybody who goes to work is a rat.
No, because then there's
Why
morning.
not?
Because then there's also there's morning and night. You
Yeah,
learn
so-
in the morning.
so-
You went to Daf Yomi in
But
the morning
he's
before
obligated on
Shacharit.
both of. But those two laws, which apply to the mitzvah of Talmud Torah for everybody, everybody has them. So I can't say, well, this law doesn't apply to me. It's not true. That's not the Birkas Shmuel's teirus. When he says there's two laws,
No, and then there's two ways to do it. All the time you get out of it by the pater, and the morning and night you get out of it by
dechia.
By dechia, and that.
I don't think that I don't think he said that.
Okay.
But Mechilas Kvodcha, I don't think that's what the Birkas Shmuel wrote. If you can find that in the book anywhere, I'll be happy to hear. But I don't think that's the answer.
So I'm trying to understand.
Okay, I'll tell you why I don't like that answer. Because you said the relation of the concepts is two parts. And in one part you need a dechia.
Right.
In one part you don't need a dechia.
You need a pater.
You need a patur.
Okay.
So that's not true because they're not two parts.
Right.
Everybody is chayiv in both aspects
Okay.
of both laws. Everybody's equally chayiv on both of these laws. So now, how do you ever go to work?
You can't. They contradict each other.
Well, they don't contradict each other. If I say that you have to learn Torah qualitatively, with all your strength, with all your mind, and all your God-given faculties that Hashem created you to learn Torah. Am I talking about amount of Torah or the quality of how you learn Torah?
You're talking about both.
No.
Well,
I think I was just talking about quality.
Okay.
You can apply
I thought it was a trick question.
No, it wasn't a trick question. And if I tell you that you have to learn Torah day and night, I'm talking about time, of all the time. Quantity of learning.
Oh, so it's
If,
not morning and night and all the time. It's quality.
and quantity. Now,
Rosh Yeshiva
if I
always
say,
used to say that. What is it? Quality or
Or quantity?
quantity?
Yeah.
Where are you at right now? Are you quality?
well, see, when I define the two dinim, I like you. I agree with you. I talk about concepts all the time. I'm just adding to your vocabulary that when there's two concepts, that I could get interested in the relationship between them. And that's what's going on here. That's really what's going on. That's ABCs in all our learning. That's what we're not just talking about concepts, also about relation of concepts. So here the relation of concepts is that there's nobody in the world who can tell you that learning Torah is strictly a qualitative affair and has nothing to do with how much you learn. And there's nobody can tell you the opposite either. That it has to do with how much you learn. It doesn't have to do with whether you're awake or not and excited. That's not true either. Neither one is correct. Both are there at the same time. That's called two dinim.
Which also means that they can be done together. You can be qualitatively studying quantity.
You have to do both. You have to always do both. You can't. That's really, if you go into more detail, which is really what he's doing. Not about, as you wanted to say yesterday, about Rav Shimshon for Hirsch, the HaGaon Tzaddik, Rav Shimshon for Hirsch. But if you want to talk about that the mitzvah of teaching Torah is to teach your children and your students, and yourself, by the way, to become Gaonei Torah and Gedolei Torah. Nothing less. Is that quantity or quality? Or both together? It's really both. That's right. That's what he's really explaining with these two dinim. And the kash and teretz in the Gra is to explain, by deepening our understanding of Talmud Torah, to have these two dinim, to explain why it is that the Gra was careful to avoid saying that umnas and mitzvah yitev she'acher, that those things that you have to do are a dechia. That's the last thing he wants to say. I was talking to my chavrusa, what's wrong with saying dechia? That's a very lamdisha, wonderful chilik. You could say that when I have to do these things, it's doiche my obligations of learning Torah. Like I have a mitzvah to hear the Megillah, and I have a mitzvah to learn Torah. And here I will say doiche, because what do? You can't just keep on learning, because learning is Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. We have a mitzvah to go hear the Megillah, right? So I say, as the Mishnah says, when in conflict, what to do, push the red button. So you have to stop learning and go hear the Megillah, right? That's called a dechia. So what's so bad about a dechia? I'll tell you that really the upshot of this paragraph, where he's fighting so hard to not say that there's a dechia of mitzvah yef shayidei acher o umnas, to say it's doiche the isur of bidul Torah, it's an isur aseh. It's an aseh to learn Torah, and bidul Torah means you are mevatel a mitzvah aseh. So why don't I say a dechia? So I'll explain this Sorah. That if a person could just obtain one of these dechia cards, that he's not obligated to learn Torah anymore. He got his draft notice, his dechia learning Torah. So off he goes to the army, That's called a dechia. So now that he's got his dechia and he doesn't have to learn anymore, so he's got it in his pocket. Whoopee, I'm free. So that's the story I don't want to have. I'm not going to solve umnus and ef shayid acher by saying, just don't do anything. Glue yourself in the chair, don't eat, don't sleep, don't breathe, and learn Torah. But I'm not going to also give you a free green pass card that now you can go and do whatever you want. That's called a dechia. So there has to be an in-between position, and this is really what we're working toward, is I'm not against that a person has to go and do their umnus, or there's things that come up that they have to stop learning and do those things. Not against that. But what should a person's attitude be? Should it be, whoopee, I'm free? No, that's called a dechia. Means you got your card, now you're free, right? That's not the right approach. And that's why he's fighting so hard. He wants to show us that let's be mature and thinking individuals, and we know that we have a mitzvah to learn Torah. So now let's face the music. What is that mitzvah? I want to do the mitzvahs, I'm not trying to wiggle out. I'm not trying to go out in some dark corner and find something treif to eat and enjoy myself, I want to do the mitzvahs. So what is the mitzvah that I have? So the mitzvah I have is to learn Torah with all my strength, and to devote myself with all my time that I have, and not be like hooked in a problem that if there's something comes up that I have to do, that if I do it, I'll say whoopee, now I'm free. That's what I want to avoid. That's a hard job, because you'll take responsibility for the things you decided is the right thing. Now I have to go out and do those things, and you will go out and do that, and then you'll come back and learn Torah, and you'll say, I'm so happy to be back in learning Torah. I didn't want to take 1 minute more than the time necessary to do what I had to do. So I ran right back with excitement and energy, come right back to learn Torah. That's a healthy position. To figure, okay, already now I'm out, I don't have to learn Torah anymore. I'm doiche, it's doiche, now I don't have to do it anymore. Finished. The rest of the day I'm a free bird, can do what I want. Right? Not the right position.
I don't understand why you're saying that. Where
did I get that in the Birkas Shmueil?
Why is that one of the positions? Doesn't sound like that's one of the positions in the Birkas Shmueil.
The position of dechia is that position. And we said, don't say.
That sounds like a little bit of an exaggeration of what.
Well, then I am exaggerating, but you know why? Because I want to understand, why is he working so hard not to say that there's a dechia of Bidul Torah? He doesn't want to say that. B'shum ofen lo. Not in din number 1 and not in din number 2. So I'm explaining you. You can say exaggerate, but it's really I'm not. This is the truth. This is why it's not possible to say dechia. I'll tell you a story.
I hear you.
What?
I hear.
Okay, this is the facts.
Oh, I know the facts.
Okay, I know you know the facts. Now you can absorb the facts after you know the facts. It's another job to absorb the facts. Years ago, we asked the Rebbe if a person should wear tefillin b'tzina in Chol HaMoed. Famous question.
Yeah.
And there's different views in the poskim about it.
Yeah, I can remember asking myself.
And what was the answer?
Can I tell you what I remember?
No, I'll tell you what the answer was.
Okay. That's better.
The answer was that it was a Tolui statement. If the person is going to have a feeling when he doesn't wear his tefillin in Chol HaMoed of whoopee, I'm free, which is called dechia, that the Kedushas HaMoed is doiche the mitzvah of wearing tefillin, and he's going to feel whoopee, I'm free, then put on your tefillin.
Yeah.
If a person doesn't have that feeling, then the moed is more important. The moed is an os. You don't wear tefillin in a moed. But instead of looking he answered us really al pi musar, you see. He didn't answer us that that's what the halacha says.
Yeah.
He answered us, if you want to really know the emes, you have to check your midos. And you have to decide what to do based on that. And if a person checks himself and he finds there's that little bit of relief and whoopee involved of now I'm free, then it's kedai to be makel or machmir, whichever way you want to put it, and don't let yourself off the hook with tefillin b'tzina in Chol HaMoed. So I bring that as an example. That story is an example of why I have a problem with dechiyah. Because if a person has a mitzvah yeshed acher and they have their umnus and they have what to do, and they get up from the Gemara, so how do they feel about it?
I don't understand. Why can't it be a dechiyah for that minute? That 5 minutes, a dechiyah, and then you get back, like you said, and then you go back and you go right back into the learning, and with new energy and new everything, you have to take 5 minutes.
Because this time I don't answer al pi musar, that the question is how do you feel, if you feel whoopee or not. I say, Rachmana nitzlan mi'ay daitich, it's not a dechiyah. The Birkas Shmueil went out of his way to tell us.
So you were putted. You were putted during those 5 minutes.
Not potter during. That's called a no. Potter and dechiyah is not the same word, by the way. You know.
I know. I'm trying to.
So could you explain the difference between those concepts?
Can I explain the difference?
Yeah, go ahead. You used it, so
Potter,
explain
you said
it.
it yesterday. Potter means you're not shy. You can't learn Torah now because you're potter.
To do what you have to do.
Right.
And potter means that prior to this moment when you have to do something else, you already completed and finished, and you're yotzi your chiyuv of Talmud Torah.
Is that dafka? It can't be a continuing process.
No. That was the Gra. The Gra said, "Why do I learn? Why do I learn from the Mishnah?
Good.
Elem shiur. There's no shiur lamata. In order to tell you that one word is totally fulfilled the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. And therefore, in theory, if a person has a mitzvah that they must do after that one word, and they get up and now they have to go do whatever they have to do they say to themselves, Chaval, I didn't get the mitzvah of learning Torah today? Or they say the opposite. Baruch Hashem,
I learned what I could.
That Hashem sent me the opportunity to fulfill His most important commandment of all the commandments, and I did it. And then I go do what I have to do. Now, what happens when I add that there are two laws involved here? That was if I had one law.
And then when you finish, what you have to do?
Well, I explained that a few days ago, that Bidul Torah has to do with your free time when you don't have something you have to do. Where are you then?
Right.
So that's very clear. Now the next step is, how do I fit in the two laws of Talmud Torah with this picture of a mitzvah yeshayid acher? That's what we're up to now. There's really the teretz to the kasha.
Right.
The teretz to the kasha is that what the Gra said all along really is, of course, true. And we have to explain the svaras of these two different laws and explain that even when we say kamus, there's a different nature of the kamus than tzitzis. Tzitzis is every grain of sand is another grain of sand, and it adds up to a big pile. But since you have to wear tzitzis all day long, so you have to get up to that big pile. You can't stop in the middle. Then you're going to be missing. You have 68,582 grains of sand, but you're missing another 32,976. You're missing that. Halila, you can't do that. You have mitzvahs you didn't do. You're mavatal a mitzvah. But if I say kamus dovek, so then it works differently. Then I say that my obligation to learn day and night is like starts filling up at the bottom, and it keeps filling up until I have to go out and do some mitzvah yeshayid acher. It stops filling up. But I have that measurement of day and night as full as I can get it. And then I'm potter. Because if you told me that, what about the other 5 grains of sand that are going to come after that, and you're not doing them? So you're mevatel a mitzvah saseh. That's not true. I did the kamos dovek of filling up the quantity of my learning from the morning to the night as far as I could fill it up. And then I had to do something else. So it stops. And that's not a dechia, because it, and the Rebbe explained this, the Rebbe explained this to us many times, that it's very nice when you have an obligation to learn Torah day and night. And you can't expect, as the Chazon Ish, I told you yesterday in the name of the Chazon Ish, you can't expect when you learn a minute here and a minute there and a minute there, you can't expect to get the same results as a person who learns without a break for hours. To learn Iyun without a break for hours, very important. So if a person filled up his measure of quantity of Yom V'Layla as far as he could before he had to go do something else. So you're right. He's not just like I said about the minimum shear on the qualitative level, that he's Yotzi and there's no chiyuv after that. He's Yotzi already. So he's Yotzi also the quantitative measure because he filled it up to here. It's however full it's full. And after that, there's not more grains that have to come because it's a kamos dovek of all one thing. So the Rebbe explained it. Listen carefully. The Rebbe explained it that's true. You have a right to leave and do what you have to do, but you're not going to get the knowledge of the Torah by leaving it. If you want quantitatively to have knowledge of the Torah, well, you better devote to it enough hours to get it. You're not going to get there if you constantly have to leave. So you don't have a isur of Bidul Torah, and you don't have a dechia that now you're exempt and you say, whoopee, I don't have to worry about Bidul Torah. But you have a patur, but you don't get the result either. You don't get the result. On the measure of quantity, so when you don't have day and night, you're not going to get up to that knowledge of Torah, of learning Torah day and night. Yeah.
Is it possible to say that it's a length and a depth?
Why is length and depth? Both of those are measurements of quantity. Why don't you use fill up the pot with water and fill up the pot with gold? Quality. Why need length and depth for? Those are just two dimensions of measuring things.
No, but I'm saying length, because if you go kol rega v'rega, and
yeah.
I mean, it can be together, that you're increasing in length, but the time that you're spending is creating the depth of knowledge of the Torah.
The words make sense, but I don't know why you need length and depth. You could say the same thing without those words. The point is that...
So really you're looking at the same glass two different ways.
I'm looking at... See, that is the problem with the two concepts in trade dinim in the Birkas Shmueil. What is the relation of the concepts?
I have a little problem. Can I say my little problem?
Yeah?
I don't see the difference when you say it's a dechia, and you say it's a dechia, so there would be. And when you say it's a pater, because after your dechia is over, you can have a dechia that's mamish. Exactly, you have a dechia. You have to go to the hospital. You have to do this. You have to do whatever you need to do. You have a dechia. You push it up, and then so now also why is that whoopee and pater is not whoopee? Why can't you also say you're pater, and then when you're not pater, oh whoopee, I was pater. I don't see the real strong.
You're assuming that the
whoopee is not necessarily dafka in here. It's an inside. It's a headspace. It's not a.
See, really what the Gra says about the minimum shear, and we're not rejecting the Gra. In this Kash and Teres, we're not changing. We're saying all this in order to defend what the Gra said. The Gra said that in Talmud Torah, every moment and moment is another mitzvah qualitatively of Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. And how could you give up one of those precious gems? Right? So it's a difference to say that right now I don't have to learn Torah, and say right now I can't learn Torah. The difference is that you have the part of the picture, you're correct, but you're missing a certain element of it. That if you think that well, I know I have to come back to learn, I'm doing those things that I have to do it, then I'll come back to learn.
Running back to learn. Running back to learn.
I explained to you that...
Listening all the time that I'm doing something else.
No, that's not going to help. There's a difference. I want you to hear it.
I'm listening.
That the value of every single moment of learning is not the same when you say Dechia and when you say that you are potter with what you had already. I'm not saying you're potter at this moment. See, you're learning the word potter in the sense of now, when I'm involved in a mitzvah yeshed acher, I am now at this moment potter. I'm not learning that way. I'm learning that at the time that you completed your 1 minute of learning in the morning,
Right.
and I asked, well, did you do the mitzvah of Talmud Torah?
Uh-huh.
If a person said Kriyat Shema in the morning, after he said Kriyat Shema, I say, you don't have to say it again. You were Yotzei the mitzvah. Correct?
Yes.
So I say the same thing about Talmud Torah. Since there's no minimum shear, that one word in the morning, you're Yotzei and Potur, not now I'm potter. When I finished, I'm potter. But being finished and potter on that one word you'd learned doesn't take away one drop from the excitement of, I'll get another mitzvah of learning Torah for the second minute, and another one for the next minute. So that is the difference between potter and dechia. Dechia means I don't need to learn right now. Potter means that I was potter, but if I can learn more, I'll have another mitzvah. I'll have another mitzvah. I was potter, not I'm a patur now. You're using the word patur and dechia and they're synonyms almost, but they're not synonyms. They don't mean the same thing.
I got it. Patur meaning you fulfilled your mitzvah.
That's right.
Period.
But if you get another word of Torah after that, another drop, like the fish with the water. Another drop. Why do the fish? They live in the water. It's a Gemara. The fish live in the water. Why do they come up to the top when it rains to catch that drop? They live in the water. They can drink all the water they want. They need to come up to the top and stick out their tongues and catch that little drop of rain coming down.
I remember that Gemara.
That's a famous Gemara. So the answer is that every drop is another drop. It's not, I got all I want. Every drop is another drop. So they run up to grab it. So our attitude toward learning is every drop is another drop. That's not the same as I don't have to come back right now. I'm busy now. That's missing. Every drop is another drop. But that the reason I'm able to leave is because I fulfilled my obligation. I no longer have an obligation.
That's right.
That's a different story, because that doesn't exclude saying, but if I had the opportunity for another drop, I would grab it.
Right.
That's the difference.
And as soon as I've done what I need to do,
so I think
do I have a heal again, or
no?
Because since that's it.
Even when you were doing what you had to do, you had a chiyuv is every minute and every minute. There's no chiyuv from the chiyuv.
No, potter. Wait a second. In the world of potter.
In the world of potter, you're potter because only for the reason that there's no minimum shear. So one word is potter, but maybe the next word is not a mitzvah. You're commanded to do it. Of course, you're commanded to do the next word. And that's the Birkas Shmuel's kasha. If you're commanded constantly to do the next one, then Abai is right. It adds up to forever, and you should be Docha Shabbos. It's what do you mean, Adarabba? Every second is another mitzvah. Before I get to this chilukim, let me go further. I want to read a little bit more of the Birkas
So
Shmueil.
is that the idea that Rosh Yeshivas also used to say about going to a wedding and coming back to studying? That's where your head is?
You can say all these things. It's all true. I don't mind. Let me figure out what I want to work on today. The truth is, in the paragraph of Veneer on page 40, I left off somewhere in the middle of it, didn't read all the way to the end.
That's right.
But I think I'm going to, but I did say the Kash and Teretz, at least outside today, I'm going to start with Nimtza. I'm going to start a new paragraph. Nimtza.
Nimtza, okay.
Nimtza, Sheshnei Adinei Mitzvah Shebetalmud Torah. There are two dinim in the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Is there somebody who's not commanded in the mitzvah of Talmud Torah? So both these dinim are shaykh to everybody. Hamakbilot, Zulu Matzu. That's an interesting between the two concepts of the two dinim. They are parallel and not overlapping, one parallel and continuing constantly together with the other one.
Which are those words here?
Makbil. You know what makbil means? Parallel. Hainu. Shecholo ali shisuel chiyuv Talmud Torah sheshiuro shel mitzvah yomam v'laylo. He has a certain din that his learning has to have a measurement, not of no measurement, of there's no minimum shiur, even one word. No. It has a measurement of quantity, of day and night. Zeu shiur hakamus. That's a shiur kamus. But there's another shiur of eichus. This is what we talked about yesterday, kamus and eichus. Baruch Hashem, he's actually said the words in this paragraph, kamus and eichus. There's another shiur of eichus. V'hu shinantam levanecha, shiu devei Torah mechudadim b'ficha, v'mishalcho adam al tidganu tomar lo, elo omer miyad. Zeu shiur eichus. Bir shiur hu lekol echad lefi kocho. Now these shiurim go according to each person, according to his what?
That's very important. Bir shiur hu lekol.
Everybody's according to his kocho.
Very important, huh?
Now, what is the person's koach? Very interesting. Why would we talk about koach dibur? You know, koach dibur is a very koach dibur in the Targum of Bereshis. Koach dibur, ruach malala, is part of the creation of the human being. Koach dibur is a very basic human quality. Koach dibur. So now, koach dibur of a particular person. So some people develop it more or less. Now, don't make the mistake. Really, the Ramchal is the one who corrected this mistake. That there are innate, born qualities of a person, of how much brains they got, how much koach of dibur they got, how much thinking they got. It's not true. Human beings
do have different IQs, though.
What?
People do have different IQs. There are people who have high IQs.
And I don't give a hoot about IQs.
Ah, all right.
It's a Goisha concept in my book.
Okay.
Because the Ramchal says that a person can improve and cultivate their mind to be more productive. We're not bound by kid. You know, this is a false concept that everybody tried to sell you, friends, when you're a little kid. Is that you're not such a smart guy, and so the Rebbe used to say to us, Zatzal used to say, could everybody who's dumb please put their hand up?
That's right.
Right? Okay. And how come nobody puts their hand up? Right? But the Ramchal says stronger than that. He says that the mind is a God-given kli that can be developed and trained with methods to think better and to have a better koach hadibur, and to expand your abilities to learn Torah. And how do you do it? Of course, You think I'm going to say by learning the Ramchal's book. It's not true. By learning Torah. The more Torah you learn, the more you're going to develop yourself. Torah is the cure for everything. It'll develop you. Of course, I'm not talking about learning Torah like an ossified fossil that it doesn't affect you. You know, I'm talking about real learning. So now I do need the Ramchal. But when we talk about the koach dibur and the moach kazeh sheyochol lilmod b'shoachas Maseches Shleimo. Okay, like I told you about the Birkas Shmueil, he went through an entire tshuva in just a few minutes, going his finger down the page of all this money. He mastered it. He could talk about it outside for weeks. So I agree, but the mistake we make is that we think that all of those are just God-given qualities, or whatever you got. That's false. But there's definitely people who are more successful in their learning to train themselves to be much greater. I'm not even talking about the difference between us and the generations before. Like they're like malachim, we're like human beings. We're like animals. There's no connection. It's far, far away. But the message is, if you look at all the generations and all the different Gedolei Torah around us, even in our own generation, you see clearly that the inherent qualities of the human being, how Hashem created us, has tremendous potential. And chaval not to develop it. You have it. Just get to work. You can produce far beyond what you could imagine to produce. The Rebbe used to say to us, Zatzal, that, can't even picture somebody that went through the camps, If we got like 1/1000% of the amount of pains and troubles, we'd just collapse, We wouldn't be able to function. They got thin like skeletons and they work like horses. And where'd that come from? So the Musal Haskell, the simple story is that a human being, the creation of Hashem, and has like a rubber band, it can stretch it very, very far, beyond what you think. You think, I'll collapse, I can't handle it, you can't do that to me. It's not true. The human being has a huge potential. And to develop that's why learning Torah is a tremendous obligation. It'll develop that potential in you to become a person that has a actual koach hadibur, that you'll be worthy of that tzelem elokim that you're supposed to have, and the ability to think and sharpen your mind with learning and straighten yourself out with yirat shamayim. All of that comes from learning. A whole masechet. The story about Chaim Ozer that he finished Yevamos in one night.
Oh yeah.
Can you finish Yevamos in one night? Maybe you could stay awake long enough to turn all the pages without falling asleep, but learn it, and wrote a whole book about it.
Once you memorize it completely, like to the letter, you might be able to really do it.
I don't think it was that he memorized it. I think it was he learned it, and the quality of his learning was that you could write a whole book about it after that one night. He wrote his sefer on Yevamos after that. There's Gedolei Torah who can do that. Now, someone like that, La'akif b'shoachas kol haTorah kula, u'mechuyev.
What's La'akif?
To encompass, to go all around, all the whole Torah in a short time. Then that's what his obligation is, to do exactly that. Lilmo Maseches Shleimo b'shoachas, u'la'akif haTorah b'shoachas. He has to do everything. Im mocho eino sovel rak lilmod chetzi daf b'shah. If the most he can accomplish is a half of a daf in a whole hour of learning, zeu chiyuvo. Mikroa shinanta shiu divrei Torah mechudatim b'ficha. Now this is
Did
This
he
is-
just say quality is better than quantity?
no.
No.
He said that on the you see of the two mitzvahs, Aleph base. Look at the very top lines of Venira. Aleph,
Yeah.
Shinamta levanecha, higisa bo mamialayla. The base is morning and night. So I explained it to you that Aleph of Yom V'Layla is quantity, and morning and night is quality. But it's not. I have to maybe do a little more eon here. Where is quantity and quality? Because he's now telling us that on the side of quantity of Yom V'Layla, there's different measures of what's Yom V'Layla, and it's not only how many hours of the day, it's what you accomplish in those hours. There's a person who can learn a whole Masechet in a few hours. He has to do more than that. He has to learn the whole Torah in a day. How many times how long does it take Rav Cohen to chazer all of Shas? He does it fairly quickly. What? I don't know the answer, but I know he does chazor of all the Shas constantly and very quickly. So it's a bigger development quantitatively than other people have.
Yeah.
So this whole paragraph,
So that means
he's only talking about the Aleph one of Shinantem and Yom V'Layla. He didn't talk about the other one. And
does a
and
person have a bigger chiyuv if he's a bigger lamdan?
of course he does.
Of course he does.
He also has a bigger Yitzhak.
Right.
Hashem turns the dials,
Yeah.
and He makes room for everybody to be zoiche, to be a ben olam haba, you know.
He's the great equalizer.
So everything works according to its system.
Sure. You finished that paragraph.
Yeah, let me do another one. 'Cause I'm interested in. I think he's going to explain both sides. I'm not sure. Let's see what he says here. V'nei ze adin shel dibarta ba b'shitecha b'veisecha shehu limud perach echad chakras perach echad arvis shehu mikabel keneged osam shiurim shel higisa v'shenantem. It's parallel. This one is parallel to that one. One is the quantitative side, one is the qualitative side, but those two dinim are parallel. Az muter lo lahafsik, ayidei shenekshav lo lekiyum, also perek chakras, also perek arvis. V'nimsa, di lav kvua, shach b'chav kumecha. If I didn't have that, hoya osur afilu lecho. And derech eretz and doing whatever you have to do, nothing would be mutter. Mishum din shiur, Talmud Torah, shinantem, v'gisa yomam v'layla. You couldn't do anything. It's the second law of morning and night that allows you to have such a concept of a mitzvah yev sheidacher. Otherwise, there'd be no such thing. There'd be no such thing. So learning has both laws at the same time.
You just took the pater side?
No. V'azeh bo adin. This comes to, we have now the law of morning and night. And what do we learn from that law? Lilmod. Da'achim nifka mimenu isu bittul Torah yedei achila v'derech eretz and yefshai de acheros. So there's no bittul Torah then. That's in the second law. V'amitzvah sheyefshar lasos ayidei acherim as nechshav shapir l'kiyum cheptzah de Talmud Torah ayidei perach echad. Since he has to stop and do something else, then he has a kiyum of Talmud Torah from that one perach or that one word from the morning, or one perach or one word in the night. Ulam imeno rotze lilmod klal as leke ikar kiyum Talmud Torah. But if he didn't do that to start with, then he's missing the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. But nechshav lo lulo olam the bittul Torah. I don't know what it says lo twice. I'm not sure how to read that. Ki'im ba'ofen she'maksik talmidei chachamim. The only way out for a person who's not learning at least morning and night is yichasacha zavulan, to support talmidei chachamim. Ayidei hiskav agedolim. He has money, so he supports them. V'chein lomati midivrei Rabbeinu Agro. Okay, the what is the relation then between the two concepts now, and what do we come out with? If I have the two dinim of Talmud Torah, it applies to everybody. And of course, people are different. People are different. Not everybody's the same, and not everybody is different because we have fixed and defined niches of what's your IQ and how far you go. That's false. It's how much have you been able to take your learning and develop yourself higher and higher and higher, and you have a whole lifetime to keep developing yourself and going higher and higher. And with all that, you have to know that there's a big stretch of different generations and different people, even our own generation of, I don't know if you were zoiche to see Rav Elyashiv sitting and learning. You ever went to him, or even to go see Rav Chaim, or to go see his father, the discipler. I mean, there's great people. I'm not about generations ago. What they accomplished, it's not because they have bigger heads and bigger, fancier, it's because their learning produced a bigger person. They were zochef to that. Everybody can do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. What?
Didn't he say everyone could be a Moshe Rabbeinu?
Well, that's a hard chazal. I'm not going to get involved in that. But
that.
I will say that everybody can be this is because the Birkas Shmueil said this, right, in this article. I don't have to go so far. Mm-hmm. Is everybody must and can be a Gorel b'Torah and a Goyen b'Torah. You must.
And it's a chiyuv?
That's a chiyuv.
So that's difficult.
Why is that difficult?
Why? Because then it's like the kind of mitzvah that you have to see Hashem in front of you all the time. That you can gradually, a person can't accept it. You can accept it. It's something that has to happen.
Don't sell yourself short.
And work on it.
Don't sell. So do the work. Don't sell yourself short. And what about the people who fail and they become lawyers and doctors instead? Well, we have a test. If they genuinely started out learning with that goal, and then they did not succeed to develop themselves further and further in their learning, so they went and became a lawyer and a doctor. So if they were pure, but to me mut, the Birkas Shmueil, Rabbeinu Chaim said this. If they were pure and had that goal when they started learning, so I'm not judging a person by what they get to, chas v'shalom. There's a lot of different people in the world. You don't judge anybody. Right? But if they pursue that goal, b'tmimut, then you can rest assured they'll come out a yirat shamayim. That's why I asked the kasha. How come Rabbeinu Chaim said that if a person doesn't dedicate themselves to become a Gadol b'Torah and train their children, that they should be Gedolei Torah, and they say, listen, I'll be thrilled if my son is religious, you know. So what happens? Rabbi Chaim says, Oy vavoy, Rahman Islam. His children or his grandchildren will become total
Reformers.
non-believers. Mumarim. So then he asked the kasha, but look, we see a lot of people that are Yirat Shamayim, and they're not exactly Gedolei Torah and Geonei Torah. So Rabbeinu Chaim says, that's because they failed. They meant well. They accepted that goal. They failed. Then their children will be Yirei Shamayim because they had that goal. But if a person didn't have that goal, then oy vavoy. So you can't. I'm not judging by the results.
No,
I'm saying that we must have that goal, and it's shaykh to everybody to have that goal. So that's what now we have to apply that in these two dinim. And he's saying here again that there's differences between people, but the two dinim apply to everybody. This is the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Just it's everybody according to who they are. But don't think who you are is just a static and that's who I am, I'm a failure. No. Learn. You have the opportunity to develop yourself. When did Rabbi Akiva start? He was already old.
40.
Yeah. Okay. In case you say, well, I'm a has-been because I'm past 40 already. And for those of us who are past 40, so you have to have another chazal. So you have Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu started when he was 80. Okay, that's a little better. He was busy being the king of some country before that. He was when was the Snen? When did Hashem send him? He was 80 years old. Aaron was 83.
Well, they lived a little strong. Had a little stronger.
Come on, don't give me excuses. Okay, so I think I'll. The next paragraph is going to quote the Grua, and then we're going to discuss more. The end of Hay is to go a little bit further in explaining the Grua. That's what I'm doing. That's next.